Hi, Susan. Is my audio and video working okay?
Working great.
Great. Good afternoon, Sean. How are you?
Rookie move. I was on mute. Good, Chair Foster. Good to see you.
Rookies and veterans make that move all the time. Do you have everyone you need, Sean?
Let's see. I saw Bob Hersey on. I know, I think Andre is on here somewhere. And our incoming director of pharmacy, Max Steinhauer, is also on here. So we should be all set.
Great. All right, then I'll call to order the Green Mountain Care Board's hearing of June 11th, 2025. Getting an echo. Sounds better. We have a request for a budget adjustment from NVRH, and we've noticed a potential vote. And with that, I'll turn it to Mark Henksler and Matt Sutter to walk us through the request and some information they pulled together for us.
Thanks, Chair Foster. I think Julia Corman's going to help with today's presentation a little bit. So I will share my screen. Give me 1 second to bring the presentation up. All right, how does that look from your perspective? Does that look all right?
Perfect.
Great. So thank you. We have a fairly straightforward request today for a mid-year NPR increase from NVRH. There is one nuance where there's a confidentiality request related to some patient privacy concerns that I will touch on as we go through the review. But it's, like I said, I think fairly straightforward. So we'll start with a recap of the request, what prompted it in staff's review. Then I'll briefly explain the confidentiality determination, though I will defer to Julia on specifics around the determination if there are questions there. We'll review the relevant statute, rule, and policy guiding our review of these sorts of requests, and then follow it up. Oh, Susan, I see your hand.
Yes, so sorry to interrupt, but we wanted to make sure that we were on the record. We do have a court reporter, Chair Foster. We wanted to make sure she was on the record. Did we say that?
Yes, on the record when you called to order, Chair Foster.
Okay, perfect.
Great.
Sorry,
Thank you, Ms. Barrett. It's good to see you. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you, Susan. So we'll review the relevant statute, rule, and policy guiding these sorts of requests, and then I'll follow it up with a staff recommendation, do public comment, board questions, and then maybe a potential vote. So getting with some background, NVRH has two, and again, there's some confidentiality concerns, so I'm going to be kind of careful with my wording, but NVRH has 2 new patients who receive infusion therapy with a very high cost medication. For FY25, they're requesting that the board increase their NPR cap by $960,000 to cover the increased reimbursement the hospital will receive for these services. You'll also note on, I can highlight this, on the expense side, about an $850,000 increase in their budget. So providing the service will is projected to generate a small margin for the hospital because they're receiving 340B costs for the drugs. We also included, if you see in the table on the far right, the annualized impact of the request. This is important because the request will materially impact the starting point for calculating the FY26 benchmarks. So annualized, it's roughly a $2.5 million increase to NPR and a $2.4 million increase to operating expenses. So a small positive margin impact to NVRH here, but once you factor in provider taxes, the overall annualized impact is still roughly about they're projecting a little over $100,000 to the hospital. Touching on the confidentiality determination briefly, because the relevant medication is so expensive, NVRH provided a table to the board showing dosage and price for the affected patients. It's allowed us to see directly how it affects the request and where it rolls up in their income statement. However, the name of the drug, because it treats a very rare condition that In this specific request only applies to 2 patients. They ask that they treat the drug name. The drug itself is confidential. The Care Board's legal team agreed that making the name of the drug public could reveal protected health information about the patients, and so issued that determination. I will add, though, that the table showing the detailed expense and revenue projections are available on our website and under this agenda item, just with the name of the drug itself redacted for patient privacy. I will pass it to Julia to go over statute, rule, and policy here briefly, guiding our review.
Yeah, so on the slide here, you can see the statute, the rule, and our internal policy that addresses a budget adjustment request. So first, we have in statute 18 VSA 9456. This is the standard that the board is going to look at. Basically, the statute says that you can adjust a hospital budget with the showing of need based on exceptional or unforeseen circumstances. In our rule 3.401, that rule outlines the factors that the board will take into consideration with the budget adjustment request. So these factors include the variability of the hospital's revenue, the hospital's ability to limit services to meet its budget, the financial position of the hospital in relation to other hospitals and the healthcare system as a whole, and the hospital's performance under previous years and for future years, and any other considerations that the board finds necessary. And then lastly, we can look at our policy. This is in our budget amendments and adjustments policy, which allows for a budget amendment to account for unanticipated changes to an approved budget.
Thank you, Julia. Looking at our rules a little bit closer, I just wanted to touch on each of these very briefly. So the first one speaks to the variability of hospital revenues and resources of payers. I view this factor a little more relevant generally to like a mid-year rate request. But I did want to share, NVRH has told us that based on the information they have, this will not affect Vermont commercial insurers, this increased NPR. Number 2, I think, is perhaps the most relevant factor here. So from my perspective, at least, so annualized this treatment will generate about $2.5 million in revenue. They would need to reduce their NPR by almost 2% in order to, for lack of a better word, absorb this treatment of these 2 patients and stay underneath the cap. So I feel like there's like a realistic ability of them to limit services to kind of afford this within the existing cap. Number 3 speaks to the financial position of the hospital and system as a whole. If you recall from our year-to-date hospital update, NVRH has generated very small margins over the last couple of years of less than 1% positive. So in this year through March, they have operating losses of just over $2 million. So not a lot of capacity in their budget currently to absorb these costs. And number 4 kind of again speaks to the financial results of the hospital. And number 5 is just other conditions or considerations the board deems appropriate. And one of the things we looked into was the anticipated payer of this for these services. So like I said, very quick, relatively straightforward, but staff's recommendation is that the board approve NVRH's mid-year request as submitted. Staff believes treating these patients and the associated costs were unforeseen at the time of the budget submission and budget approval, and can be considered exceptional when viewed against the hospital's overall budget. Again, annualized, we're talking close to a 2% impact to their NPR. I will also add briefly, I think this process going through this mid-year request also sets us up a little bit cleaner for analyzing the FY26 budget. So we have some potential motion language below, but Chair Foster, I didn't know exactly if we want to open up to board questions or public comment or what the process is here. So I will turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, we'll do board questions. We'll do board questions. Before we do board questions, I'll let Mr. Tester offer any comments they may have, then board questions. We'll see if there's a motion and then public comment. So, Mr. Tester, if you guys have anything you want to add, now's a good time.
I just want to express my gratitude to the team at Green Mountain Care Board for working with us through this process. I know that this was certainly, at least in our case, very unique circumstances, and we appreciate everybody's attention to it. At the end of the day, this is really about quality of life for those impacted, and we believe it's the right thing to do for us to be able to deliver this care locally for them.
Thank you. I have a couple quick questions. I just want to make sure a couple facts, make sure I had them right. Is this the same drug for both patients?
Yes.
And is it commercially reimbursed?
Yes, it is.
And is it a 340B drug?
Yes.
And I thought from the table, Matt, the margin was like $100,000 in total. Is that right? Annualized?
Yes. And a little over 100, I think, annualized. Yes. Sorry.
Correct. Yeah.
I guess I'm sort of surprised it's only $100,000 margin if it's a 340B drug of $2 million or so a year. It just seems like a small number.
Bob, I'll let you speak to that briefly.
It is, we set this up to be basically break even. It's going to be, this is a many year drug treatment for these patients. The insurance company is going to be paying already $2 million something a year for it for, again, extended number of years. So we set it up basically to break even.
Oh, I see. So you set the pricing for this specific for this situation?
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
Excellent. Okay, that helps a lot. Thank you. I have no other questions, but I'll turn it to members Merman or Holmes if they have any.
My questions were actually answered in those responses.
Yes, I'm set. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to recognize two things. One, Mr. Tester, you came early to us with this, and I really appreciated that, and that you kept the price at a reasonable level and not an excessive margin, I think is really thoughtful and the right thing to do. So thank you for doing that, and I support it. So I move to approve a mid-year adjustment to Northeastern Vermont Regional Hospital's fiscal year 25 budget, increasing the NPR cap in their fiscal year 25 budget order from $124,534,490 to $125,495,126, an increase of $960,636, subject to the same conditions set forth in the fiscal year 25 order.
Second.
Is there any public comment? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Aye. And the motion's approved with 3 in support and none in opposition.
Great. Thank you all. We really appreciate your support in this. And I know it will make a real difference for the patients involved.
It's great. We're glad to hear that. Thank you. And thanks for bringing this to us.
Absolutely.
Matt, did you have anything else?
That's it for me, Chair Foster. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't see anything else on the agenda other than any old or new business for the board. Great. Then I will move to adjourn.
Great.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you.
Thank
Everyone
you,
have a
Matt.
nice afternoon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You too.